this is day 1373. So we're going to burn the midnight oil tonight. Oh, let me see if you can hear me. Sorry, everybody. This is day 1373, and we are going to burn the midnight oil. I was just about to say no sign of life. This is what happens when you get a notice of death for someone you love so much. Years ago, when I was 21, I was engaged to be married, and he passed away. And it took a while to actually comprehend what had just happened. I remember picking up the phone. That's when, we didn't have cell phones at that time. Picking up the phone, and because I had heard a joke. This is like months later. Months. Oh my gosh. And I picked up the phone to dial his number because I knew that he would love being a farmer. He would love the joke I just heard. And that was the moment it got to me, that he was gone. And yeah, so I just was, it's been a tough few days, y'all. Very, very tough. But that's what I'm built for. I'm built to be tough. And I didn't realize that until these 4 years, going through these 4 years. And I just put up a poem that I put together. Bob Moore is a content thief. Oh my gosh, y'all. You are seeing in real time the level of evil that these people that are under investigation. Okay, we have, and I don't know if I said it right last night, but we have multiple investigations going on right now. And I'm sorry, y'all. Some are state levels, some are in the federal level here in the United States. Matter of fact, that's why we can't release some of the paperwork um, that we would like for everyone to see and have. Bob Moore doesn't have it. We have it, though. We have the casualty statement. Um, we have the notice of death, and we would like to share some of that. At this point, we can't really publicize that because of what it contains and the ongoing investigations. We don't want to hurt the ongoing investigations, because there are the state level, like I said, and these are multiple investigations. We weren't just sitting around for 4 years, right? I don't know how y'all feel, but in our family, to pray is to do, and to do is to pray, right? To pray is to do, and to do is to pray. So we've been doing for 4 years, and to get these investigations going from many different institutions and agencies. And, even international investigations are taking place because Richard's case is a binational case. So, for someone that has played a role in trying to sabotage this investigation, to absolutely use the likes of Leilani Hart, right, who is unreliable source, speaking in journalism terms, an unreliable source, convicted criminal, um, with a long criminal history, you know, uh, turned in that affidavit, confessing that her family is just really botched. Just that, I mean, it's bad with all the incest and child porn and the rape of a 7-year old and in her master bedroom. Oh my gosh, that I didn't make that up. That's in there. And I think that the journalists need to post about that, right? I think that Bob Moore needs to post about his source, his unreliable source, his criminal source. That's what he needs to post on, and how he's interfered in the case of a whistleblower that was murdered right there on the Fort Bliss footprint. Okay? That's, he needs to discuss or write about Leilani Hart being the mother of Dallas Hart, interfering in in the whole office of the CID on Fort Bliss. He needs to write about Major General Eisenhower giving unlawful orders, keeping Fort Bliss unsecured. I mean, with leaders like that, who needs enemies? And with journalists like Bob Moore, who needs enemies, right? Who needs, I mean, so, and now you're seeing it unfold in front of you. They can't create their own content. They can't even report creating their own content. They have to steal content from who? From this live stream. From Find Richard Halliday. He's with these evil saboteurs, that superimpose Richard's face on a dead inmate's face. It's kind of like what they're doing with President Trump, making these death threats through memes and stuff, Um, and, you're seeing it. And you can ask why. Well, because for 4 years, we've been working hard. For 4 years, we've been devastated every day, grieving every day. I remember Sammy saying, well, I know you cry sometimes. No, I told him, no, Sammy, you've got that wrong. We cry every day. Every day. This is horrific, what has happened. And now Bob Moore wants to steal the story. He wants to steal Richard Halliday's death. He wants to say he broke the news. He broke it. No, he didn't break anything. He broke the trust of El Pasoans. He broke the ethics of journalism. He broke laws. He broke let's make this long list because it's long. He has no respect for the law, no respect for journalism, no respect for El Pasoans, no respect for the dead, no respect for Gold Star families, no respect. He's broken every decent thing. And what's going on right now in the local news in El Paso is such a shame. And I hope that all El Pasoans write messages to complain. all El Pasoans. You know, absolutely. We are the ones, you and us, Team Find Richard Halliday. We're the ones that broke this story. We're the ones that gathered the evidence, even up against the interference, the roadblocks, the retaliation, the bullying, the threats, the harassment. We did it. We stuck with this. We found evidence upon evidence upon evidence. We have kept our sanity and our decency through this whole thing. And it is what drove the Department of Defense, the Department of Army, to issue a notice of death. To who? Us. Us. We have the file. We have the notice of death. And it's, it takes time to go through it. It takes time to process it. This is the life of our son. This is the life of our son, who has been murdered, but not just murdered. What happened to Richard was a brutal murder. A brutal murder. And then his deceased body was disrespected, which is illegal. And who is taking part in this? Bob Moore. Bob Moore is taking part in the interference, in the cover-up, in the retaliation, in the bullying. And Kavia is wanting to run the story, and KTEP is wanting to run the story, and KTSM, I don't know if they ran the story. Is Fox running the story? Like, of this content thief, this absolute content thief who has no ethics, no respect, jumps right on, doesn't even contact us, just watches and steals. And I believe this is illegal, what's going on. I believe it's illegal. So, and there's so much to talk about Richard's remains, about the murder itself, about the admission that it is on the Fort Bliss footprint, the illegal orders that Major General Eisenhower has given, the deception that has been, I guess, manipulated upon the El Pasoans for greed, for monetary gain, for those that have the power to manipulate the media, just with lies. The connection with Richard's case, with Walmart case. And everyone that's been paying attention with this live stream knows that we have evidence, we have the connections. I mean, when we received the video of Jesus Melendez, there was a shakeup, y'all. There was a shakeup. because that was absolutely illegal. That was a frame. And Jesus Melendez is connected to the Walmart case, is connected to Richard's case. When we received the notice of death, there was a shakeup because Leilani Hart was interfering, was getting unauthorized access to the CID's files through her boyfriend, the dirty CID agent Tavita Nusa, who lost his badge through this, was out of the Army. He's out of the Army. So is Dallas Hart, because of evidence that Team Find Richard Halliday has uncovered and uncovered and uncovered. And every day, you know, we've been now talking to media, and they want to know, how are we? And I've been brought up to always say, good, thank you. Good, thank you. No matter what. No matter what. No matter if you are totally devastated by not only the disrespect for our son, for our son's death, for our family. They're coming to our door at 8:20 in the morning in dress blues. I should post the video because, of course, we have cameras everywhere. We need to post videos. They were devastated just walking to the door. The military. Devastated. You know why? Because they knew that we had been devastated every day for 1,373 days. Devastation upon devastation upon devastation. And then they say, well, how are you doing? How are you doing? You okay? Are you all right? You're holding in there, right? You're okay. And Bob Moore doesn't even give a shout out. Hey, I got this story from the Gold Star family. The Gold Star family broke the story. No, he wants to profit and capitalize on Richard Halliday's death and be a content thief and not tell the public of his own involvement in the devastation, the sabotage, the retaliation. He doesn't want to tell the public that. He doesn't even want to say Leilani Hart's name. Let's not say Leilani Hart's name. She's a convicted criminal and a prime suspect in the murder of our son. And he colludes with her and with his accomplices. And then steals content from Team Find Richard Halliday. Now, I hope that you don't do any business with him. And I hope that everyone writes El Paso Matters, El Paso Community Foundation. It's supposed to be charitable, right? They own El Paso Matters. They're in charge of El Paso Matters. I hope you write them. We've written them. We will write them. But we're a team. Team Find Richard Halliday. And that's how we've gotten this far. That we received, after 4 years, After 4 years of every day being a devastation, the notice of death. And now we want accountability. And so, well, if you want to know what the motive is for Bob Moore to be such a content thief, then you understand, because he's under investigation. For what? For interfering in this case. For breaking his journalistic ethics. And much more. And we can't even get a notice of death without the saboteurs and the retaliators and the bullies. They're absolute bullies. And, their hearts are hard as stone. They don't care about life. And they're putting out stories where they don't even have the source. We have the files because we're Richard's family. We have the notice of death because we're the ones that love Richard. He's our son. They don't have it. He doesn't have it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't want to know because he knows it's bad news for him. It's bad news for him, and it's bad news for the media there. Because where have they been? Where have they been through all of this? It's like on their terms, not on the good of El Paso, the good of Fort Bliss, the good of the soldiers on Fort Bliss. The soldiers on Fort Bliss are still at risk. And I don't want to pick on all the media, but we have a media problem. We have a huge media problem. And that is why we noticed that right from the beginning. If you remember the Stars and Stripes, it was like, whoa, what? What is going on in the media? And so Hannah started it with Instagram. She started doing the social media. Okay, Mom, I'm going to do some social media. But here, 4 years, it's like, okay, I'll learn how to do these live streams. I'm going to do these live streams. We've got to get El Pasoans and all of our loved ones, all of our friends all over the world. We have got to give them a place to come to get updates. And hear it from our mouth. What is going on with Richard's case? Since we are the ones going to the meetings, we are the ones that were made investigators. We are the ones doing the investigation, going over to Mexico, going to Juarez, I think 36 times. I have that Google Map history that shows everywhere we went. I think I've even posted that. Meeting people at day in and day out for over 3 months at the rallies. And I just want to thank those that have left comments on my live the last few days, because those comments for prayer, for justice, and some of them were about seeing us during those rallies and praying for us during those rallies. And we even went to the food lines, right? To hand out food, to hand out flyers, prayer candles. Even remember the one video of the one veteran, and I asked him, "Are you a praying man?" And he said no, and I said, "But would you pray for Richard?" And he goes, "Yes." And I gave him a prayer candle, and he took it. He took it, and I believe him. Because when it comes to our volunteer sons and daughters, we know we need to have a defense. And we know that our defense has to come from us, right? Because there's no better defense than somebody defending their home. That's why we have volunteers. We don't do conscription. And we really shouldn't even allow criminals to come in. Because those that are defending our country should love our country. Because there's no better military than those that love their country and are fighting for their home. And veterans understand that. Veterans understand a unit that has esprit de corps and a unit that doesn't. They understand that. And so for that veteran to say, yeah, I will pray for Richard, he absolutely knew. And I'll never forget that. And then you have these Bob Moores, no love for the veterans, for the service members that are on Fort Bliss. No respect for the remains of a soldier, of a whistleblower that was murdered, not just murdered, brutally murdered, and then his remains were disrespected, were tampered with, brutally. So much so that parts of him buried here, parts of him buried in Mexico. I mean, the level of crime in this case, the devastation that we've had to go through day in and day out, and yet have to get up, put our full armor of God on, come on here every day after investigating, speaking with people, learning the system, learning who are the true experts, doing background checks upon background checks. Let me tell you, there's nothing so eye-opening than taking time out to do some background checks. The nepotism is unbelievable, out of control. Out of control. And the bankruptcies are unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this is why we have been bullied. This is why, because, look, I didn't ask to be an investigator. CID and the command at Fort Bliss and, everyone, oh, bring us leads. You have to investigate. Keep on investigating. Bring us leads. And then when you do it and you find all this information, then they get really upset. It's like, well, you're getting paid to do it, and you told me to do it. Now I'm finding out what happened to my son. We're finding out together as Team Find Richard Halliday what happened to my son. We're giving you the information, and then you interfere. You tamper with it, you hide it, you sanitize it, you dump it. I don't know what they all did with all of the information that we gave them, because we still have it. We kept it. And so I can tell you this much. I'll put my glasses on and take comments. I can tell you this much. These 4 years, uh, I'm going to take comments. I just have to take it. I'm so sorry, Mama. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um, Hello tonight, Mama Halliday. Thank you. No. Uh, how Richard got murdered. How did Richard get murdered? Well, I can tell you what we think. I've been following your story since it happened. You are very strong. Thank you. Um, we're strong for Richard, because every day, when we would have like a little lull, like let's say a day lull, because there hasn't been too many lulls. And if you have followed this, you absolutely will agree. Um, we thought, okay, maybe we know it now. Maybe we'll, get some answers soon. And then something new would pop up that was so outrageous, that would shed so much light on this case. And you were like, oh, wow. We have some more work to do. We have some more work to do. And what do we think happened? Well, we know that our suspects are Leilani Hart, Tavita Nusa, and Dallas Hart. Okay, those are our suspects. And of course, there's others. There's accomplices. All right. Um, we can never forget Jay Paulin, right? We can never forget him. Um, so we believe that Richard was forcibly removed in uniform, because we have testimonies that he was in uniform. Of course, Tavita Nusa is a CID agent. They're involved in law enforcement, right? He's law enforcement. He's the CID. And we know that this group was very into the system and law enforcement. And we believe that he was unjustly arrested, like taken out of the barracks. The abuse of power of forcibly removing a soldier from the barracks. And we believe he was taken. And you have to remember, Dallas Hart was his platoon leader. So Dallas Hart had the right to all of his stuff, including his phone. He could take it away. He abused his power. That's what we absolutely believe. Now, the ongoing investigation will have to corroborate. And we believe, because of information we have with Major General Eisenhower, that it happened there on Fort Bliss. Well, we know that through this casualty statement, the files, that Richard died on the Fort Bliss footprint. We believe it was in the arms room. There's no camera in the arms room. There's orders to absolutely, totally rebuild an arms room. We have other information that came to us about the arms room. And I remember how Sammy went right in front of the arms room and they freaked out. I think they even banned him. Uh, they were freaking out just standing in front of the arms room. It was sealed. Um, so that's where we believe the murder took place. But his body was not respected. And I think there's a law about disrespecting corpses. Um, and that's what we have to deal with. This is the devastation every day we have to deal with. So, and of course, uh, Tavita Nusa's family is connected with the mortuary affairs. We have um, all of these saboteurs and stuff. They're connected to mortuary affairs. That's why I don't know. Their callousness and the harm that they do is unbelievable. So this is really difficult. And when you have media, you know, stealing our information, our news, our breaking news, in order to continue with the interference and um, just the misinformation. I hope that everybody writes Bob Moore, El Paso Matters, El Paso Community Foundation, KVIA, KTSM, Fox, Fox, whatever um, that station is there, and let them know. Call them, write them. It really is. Join us in doing that. It really is so destructive in the justice system. And you have to remember right now, El Paso has no justice system. It's totally broken because the district attorney there is a usurper. He is not legally the DA. So every case he touches is botched. The medical examiner who's getting $438,000 a year. You'd think for that kind of money, you could find a really good medical examiner legally, but he's not. He's not. Uh, so between and the medical examiner is a judge. It's a judicial position, and I think that's very confusing because we're thinking, oh, medical. But no, it's medical with the scales because they determine the cause and manner of death. They can call an inquiry. They can call, um, you know, a panel of they can call a jury. They can issue subpoenas. They can issue warrants. A medical examiner has a lot of power because they are expert witnesses in criminal capital murder cases. And Richard's case is a criminal capital murder case. And so for us not to have in that jurisdiction a legal DA or a legal medical examiner is also devastating. And this is what we have to go through to demand justice. And it's not just us, it's anybody in El Paso County. Mario Rascon Ortiz had the remains of all of the Walmart victims. That's botched. That's botched. You can't trust anything he writes. Who is he working for? He's determining the cause and manner of death? Well, we've looked into that. And do you remember the Branch Davidians? In that case, there was an illegal, look it up, an illegal medical examiner. He didn't even do a manner of death. He only did a cause of death. What is the difference between that? Well, the manner of death would do forensics on like the bullets to determine where did the shots come from? What kind of gun and who shot it? They didn't do that. Only, oh yeah, that person died of a gunshot wound. That's the cause. Well, what has Mario Raskin Ortiz done in all of those cases? Just the cause of death or the manner of death? The case is, you know, a normal citizen. I'm a normal citizen. I don't know about that. I'm just trusting that our very cushy jobbed uh, politicians and officials are choosing proper people following the law because they have to follow the law to place the people in there, those positions. And that's why he is illegal because he doesn't meet those qualifications. Well, I wish we had qualifications um, for the likes of Bob Moore. He is disqualified. He is disqualified. And he's under investigation. And, you know, I hope everybody writes because it is about the justice in El Paso, the crime in El Paso, um, the city that where we want to raise our children. Um, and I talked to a reporter today, a few of them, and they didn't realize that I was born in White Sands Missile Range, one of the few babies born there, and that I had went to school in El Paso. That we have still connections in El Paso, and I know the area. They didn't know that. I mean, I don't know how they could, but yeah. So we understand that area. It's a beautiful area. It is absolutely an ancient city. It's amazing city. Being on the border of Mexico makes it very cultural, and it's worth fighting for. It's worth doing, and I don't like to use right now in this day and age the word fighting for. I should say it is worth making sure you do some oversight. And that I think that's the lesson that we've learned with Richards is we have to do some oversight. We have to make sure that our officials are legal. We have to make sure that our officials are obeying the law, that the media is being held accountable to reporting um, correct information. And if they are receiving public funds like El Paso Matter is, that they report in a neutral, factual way, and that they are held to high standards. So let me see what the Thank you so much. I feel like Richard wouldn't rest and keep guiding. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your prayers. And so the main thing that everyone has to take out of this right now is that we have the file, we have the notice of death. It took the Army 4 devastating years to tell us what we already know. Um, and that they already knew. Okay? They already knew it. They have his remains. I absolutely believe they have his remains because we have evidence that shows that they have his remains. And that's where we are going now. And we want his remains. They've admitted now with the notice of death what we already knew. Now, let's look at Dallas Hart, right? The platoon leader. Come on. Um, let's look at Leilani Hart. Let's ask Bob more about Leilani Hart because he has a hard time saying her name. He finally said Richard Halliday's name, right? But he has a hard time saying Leilani Hart, his convicted criminal, uh, you know, that's not a source. And journalists all know about unreliable sources, right? So he needs to say Leilani Hart. And I think the other news outlets need to be told that Bob Moore is a content thief. Bob Moore, the content thief. Bob Moore, the uh, obstructing justice, right? And I think that's really important that the other outlets know this. And, you know, feel free to add all the ethics and decency that he's breaking to your letters. But I really appreciate that help. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. We love you all. And, you know, we're just absolutely grieving and you know, you're like frozen because you can't believe what just happened. You know, you're going and going and going for so long, and now we have this unbelievable development in Richard's case, and we can't believe it, you know. So but we want his remains, and we want accountability. So thank you so much. And it does show by the actions of what's going on in the media world and everything that something has changed. And we're very grateful for that. So thank you so much. I can tell you he did not. Oh, well, we know that. You know that wow, Dion. Yes, we heard about Etty also. He called me days prior, fearing for his life due to the guy he was staying with. His mother never liked or treated Etty right. she had hate for him, and I wouldn't doubt she had something to do with his, I can't say it online, but you can read it. Um, I've heard all of that. That is part of, uh, you know, the irregularities. Because don't forget that even in the CVA, one of those members that was involved with her also is no longer here. And Tavita Nusa lost his badge, lost his life. So it's death and destruction wherever she goes. Death and destruction. And the game that they're playing right now is, I don't know why they're going there because, let's take Patrick Crusius for an example in this because I think this is very important and I think that times can take what I'm about to say because we absolutely know that the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated. Okay, we have enough evidence that the narrative that was given was a false narrative. Okay, and we have Patrick Crusius, who we absolutely knows have major, severe mental health conditions, including being autistic. He has multiple, even being on medication, right? He has mental health conditions, severe mental health conditions. We know that. He's been in solitary confinement for 5 years. 5 years. No mental health evaluation. The state has racked in from that illegal DA's office, racked in millions of dollars, padded their pockets, while Patrick Crusius, who has a severe mental health condition, has been dehumanized. Okay, if he's dehumanized and Richard is dehumanized, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, we don't care about how we treat an individual that is under our custody. We don't care. He's been allowed to speak one time. I think one time. I don't even think he was allowed to speak ever. Sorry, I have to correct myself. He came out one time and wasn't allowed to speak. It was out his sentencing, right? Was it out his sentencing? And being, bombarded with all this hateful, fine, whatever. Because if he was part of a mass shooting, okay, whatever. But they are just wanting everyone to be indecent, be inhumane, have no ethics, don't follow the laws. And, all this talk about, oh, no one's above the law. They break laws all the time. Their whole life is one broken law, one manipulation, one disregard for human life after the other. And thank you for coming on, Dion. Wherever she goes, death and destruction. And hurting. Think about the 7-year-old. The 7-year-old who was sexually assaulted in her master bedroom by multiple members of her family. And the FBI says, oh, we've considered her a liar. But they don't arrest her. I thought lying to the FBI is an arrestable offense. Where is that? And don't forget, we have hard evidence that she was given unauthorized access to the CID files to manipulate, tamper with, and as Dion is witnessing tonight, she is absolutely capable of the worst type of things. And, you have to look at their past history. She's a convicted criminal. You have to look at all of the witness statements. We have talked to her victims. We have read the criminal records. Even her family has nothing nice to say. Even I talked to Dallas Hart on the phone a couple times and nothing nice to say about Leilani Hart. I talked to James Courtney Hart. He had nothing nice to say about Leilani Hart. Bob Moore used her. Bob Moore used her to interfere, to retaliate against a key whistleblower in our son's case, and never mentioned that she was the subject of his complaint. Now, the El Pasoans needed to know, oh, this lady a year later is retaliating against this whistleblower because he complained about her. And let me tell you, Park University has stories too. Wherever she goes, it's death and destruction. And we even heard that the Combined Veterans Association voted her to go away. Go away, Leilani Hart. I don't know if they could have had her arrested. I don't know. Because look, the FBI doesn't even want to arrest her. Why? Why? Why is she getting this kind of protection? And we're talking about case after case after case, and Richard's case, a whistleblower of the illegal activity on Fort Bliss, Leilani Hart's son, Dallas Hart, being Richard's platoon leader. She's, doing hanky-panky with the dirty CID agent, Tavita Nusa, and like, oh yeah, I'll help you. You can have unauthorized access into our files. You can tamper with our files. You can tamper with video. You can, manipulate. And then, she's like off there bragging about it. Her confession about the criminality in her household comes from her. And she's distributing it. I'm so proud. of my criminal family. And 4 years, the whistleblower came out in January of 2022. January 2022, and that report was put on the general's desk. That report was put on Senator Cruz's desk. That report was put on Governor Abbott's desk. 2022, Veronica Escobar, she knew. Thank you. Thank you, Dee. Thank you so much. And That's why these live streams are so important. So please write some letters. This is the call for tonight. We're writing letters, lots of letters, and you know, it's worth it. It's worth letting them know that you won't stand for this. Bob Moore is a content thief, amongst other things, and he's being investigated. So thank you so much, and God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Oh, I see another. I'll try to dig up Etty and old messages. Thank you so much. Um, thank you so much. Okay, everyone. Good night, and we will be back tomorrow, God willing. And thank you again. Thank you so much. It's because of you that we receive that notice of death. Um, thank you.